So say you have a disk or a pole, something like this, and you want to create a shadow of this. So what you have to do is basically center it here somewhere a little above the grid line, then go to 2 and hold shift option 1 and then create a kind of a box or a base for the. You can have some thickness if you want, but it's not necessary because this will cast a shadow on that. Make sure that your box is kind of a little bigger in size so that when it casts a shadow it saves there. You can bring it up if you want. Is this clear so far? So you have 1 and you have 2 objects. Make sure you save it. File, save. It's called Shadiow Catcher. Once you save it, you have to open up layout over here, the blue thing. And once it is open, go back to your modeler and send object to layout. So you have 2 objects here. This is your main object, and then this is your plane for you to catch the shadow, and which will become invisible once you do that. So what you have to do is basically you can go back to model and give it a name if you want to, like you press Q, and if you're on 1, just give it a name, column or something, and the other one base. And then you can go in here and synchronize to layout. You don't have to send it again. So once you do that, you can see that this will come something like this rendered. You can see the shadow, but you don't want this, you can also change the lighting placement by clicking on here and just activating this, and you can see the lighting changing. Do you see the lighting changing? So how do you get rid of this? Because without this there won't be any shadows. So what you do is you go to surface editor, and then you go into shading mode, and then you go to photoreal and Shadiow Catcher. Do you see that? The shadow is gone. So if you see reflection, the base is gone, but the shadow is there. You can always change the angle of the shadow depending on what the background is. So if you get this kind of reflection, what you have to do is you have to go to material and increase the roughness, so you won't get any reflection. Sounds good? Is that clear? So basically, depending on, say if you want to change the backdrop, you can go to composite and you can add an image if you want. Let me see where I can find an image. Okay, so suppose I have something like this. So you can see that your background. I can change the, like I can load any kind of image. So you see that you have the image there, and I would recommend that don't use any image that goes with your project if you want to make it more make it important. So if you change, like if you click on the what do you call camera, you can position it wherever you want it. Is this making sense? And then what you can do is you can go to render frame, and once it renders the frame, you abort it and you go to file, JPEG. Don't go to JPEG 2000, and give it any name and send it to me. Now please remember that try to collapse everything. When you make a copy first and then collapse all the layers and bring that into layout and render it in different different angle. For example, when I say that, let me explain to you. This will not work, but let me. That means, say you have something like this, and then what you do is you rotate it, and then you render it again, different frame. Does that make sense? So rotate it, render it from 4 to 5 different angles. You can do bird's eye view, left, right, front, back, and then email that to me. Again, you have to go to render on this tab, and then you go to render frame, and once it renders, completes, abort this, and then you go to file and go to JPEG and name it, and your rendering is done. Sounds good? You're okay? Anybody else? Okay. I'll also post this on YouTube on your D2L.